Welcome to another episode of the Sports Business Leaders Podcast. My name is Justin Tichinell, and today I'm here with a very special guest, Justin Papadakis. Thanks for coming on, Justin.
Thanks for having me, guys. Big fan of the podcast.
Yes, sir. So, Justin is the Deputy CEO and Chief Real Estate Officer of the USL. The USL, the United Soccer League, is one of the most ambitious and fastest growing professional sports organizations in North America. Under his leadership, USL has expanded to 54 professional teams, committed billions in future investments, and is creating a powerhouse infrastructure to support both player development and fan engagement. So, Justin, as we said, the USL is growing rapidly with 54 professional teams and like we said, billions in planned future investment. What's fueling this momentum and what's your vision for the next 5 years of the USL?
Thanks, Justin. And, I think without a doubt, this is the most exciting time to be in soccer in the United States. Just to take your listeners back, the 1994 World Cup, the stated purpose of it was to, really accelerate the growth of professional soccer in the United States on the men's side. And so it will be a great bookend in 2026 when we will be able to look back and say, I think not only has that been accomplished, but I think it is grown even faster than even the most ambitious expectations. The big catalyst for our growth, I think, has been a couple of things. First has been our really strong focus on stadium anchor developments. Why I have a chief real estate title in my job role is that it's a core strategy of ours, and I think different than other leagues where the USL as a league, we go out and structure the significant majority of our stadium deals with our city, county, and state partners. And then we bring in our ownership groups thereafter. The reason for that is a couple of things. First, stadium deals are hard, and there are a significant number of reasons why stadium deals can't happen. But what we've become very good at is creating very strong relationships with our city, county, and state partners, and putting the 2, 4, 6, 10 years of work in to putting these transformational deals together. And I think our city and county partners are seeing the billions of dollars of economic impact that we're bringing to their communities. Fans are seeing first-class stadiums, and our players are seeing that they can come play in packed stadiums, just like we had this opening weekend with a couple of our new stadium expansions in Portland, Maine, and Providence, Rhode Island.
That's great, Justin. Thank you. Yeah, and obviously, like, infrastructure, is a cornerstone, just as you mentioned, of the USL strategy. Really curious about how upgraded stadiums, training facilities, and along with those, the media platforms that you guys utilize, like how do they help elevate player and the fan experience overall?
Well, fans are used to watching very high level productions on TV, whether it be the NFL or the EPL. And so to create those productions, a lot of that work is in our infrastructure, as you mentioned, making sure that our stadiums look and feel first class, the lighting, the sound, the camera positions. So many of those kind of foundational elements need to be in place to do that. Secondly, building out the infrastructure network that we have in our studios in Fort Lauderdale enables us to produce 1,000 plus high quality matches, week in and week out. But the third part comes in, of course, we have to have the fans there. They are the ones that provide the soundtrack to the game. They're who we do it for. And so when we can provide a compelling product on the field and have a compelling fan journey off the field, I think that's what's resulting in this culmination, as you saw again this past weekend in Rhode Island, where all those pieces come together and fans are so happy and excited that they now have a professional soccer club in their market, that they can go to within 10 or 15 minutes drive from their home, and the club represents them. It's Rhode Island. And so it's not, New England, it's not, New York. They live in Rhode Island. They're proud to live in Rhode Island, and this club represents them. So I think those are the pieces that have come together now, that really make for an exciting match day experience and a match day broadcast.
Yeah, Justin, I think that's really cool to just hear your perspective on that. And you mentioned that the fans are the soundtrack of the game, and I love that. And when looking at it holistically, just as important as the fans are obviously the players. They're the people putting the product together. And on our first call, we spoke about this a lot and how there's a strong player first culture within the USL, with many former players now working behind the scenes, just like yourself. And your own journey growing up around the game with your father playing professionally and you playing at Duke obviously gives you a unique perspective. So, how has all that shaped the way you lead and grow the league to this day?
Well, it's a great question, and again, we start every day thinking about, how do we create a great playing experience for our players, and how do we provide them a platform to hone their craft. And we divide in several different areas. First being, I think, from a first principles, as you said, the significant majority of our league office staff were former players, and many of them still play every night. So we really understand the demands of being a player, the opportunities of being a player, and our mission every day is to really enhance every day the quality of that player experience. So that's the first where we start from, and how we are able to execute on that mission is a couple of things. First, we have a very strong uh, mandate now to enhance our training facilities. Unlike baseball players who, their practice is really playing games because they have so many games, where our players spend the significant majority of their time is in the training facilities. And so we are working very hard at the league office and within our real estate team to build first class training facilities that they don't have, I think, as good as anywhere around the world. I was just down with our club in Fort Lauderdale a couple of days ago, and who have a Super League team, and they're adding a League One team next year. And they have one of the best setups, and I would compare their infrastructure to any top team around the world. And so that's what we're trying to build. And then from a match day experience, we want to provide these players, at their core, they're playing for their city and they're playing for their fans. And so when we can curate a great stadium atmosphere, that they have 5 to 10 to 15,000 people there week in and week out supporting them as a player, that's everything. And so having that great experience, and then again being able to translate that experience into broadcasts for their away fans or for the opposing team, I think that's what brings it all together as a player to have a fantastic experience. And then Oliver Weiss and our sporting team have had a lot of success in the past several years of, and I think it's only going to now drastically accelerate, being the league of choice for players to go to Europe. And so the transfer fees are rising very rapidly. We've now had several 7-figure deals, and I think no doubt the United States has the best athletes in the world. We haven't developed them right for soccer, for soccer professionals, historically we've developed college players. Developing professional players is different. We're correcting that. And that's why I think as American soccer fans, you have so much to be excited about because the talent that's going to be coming into our national team over the next 5 to 10 years is going to be dramatically different than we've had historically. And we've had a lot of great players, but now the volume of that talent is going to increase dramatically. And certainly because of that, no reason that we can't compete at the national team at the highest level because we're going to be producing players at the highest level.
Yeah, and Jake, before you hop into the next question, just to go off of one of those points, Justin, we talk about how players from all across the country or across the world later on their career come to the United States to play, like Messi, for example. So I mean, it's just going to be so interesting to see in the next 5 to 10 years how that whole landscape shifts. Where now maybe we're having another Messi grow up in the United States, and there's not really been opportunity to do that in the United States because other sports have been, more prominent. So really excited to just see this momentum.
100% agree. The United States has a lot going for it. It's a great place to live, very stable. We have beautiful cities. And certainly we're going to have the infrastructure from the training facilities to the stadiums to compete with anyone in the world. And if you're a young player who wants to start out and have a pathway to Europe, I'd say the USL is the best place to do it. You can play against real professionals week in and week out in front of a lot of fans because being professional isn't just about what you do on the field. Being a professional is how you deal with media, how you recover from injury, how do you train. Those are the foundational pillars that really make the professionals that can compete at the highest level. And we're going to be developing that within the USL. And so, again, it's just so exciting to look at the future of American soccer because we are going to produce the next Messi. And I think that he or she is going to be coming up through the USL ecosystem.
That's great. Great additional detail, Justin. Yeah. And speaking of which, when you talk about the future and growth and exciting things going on in soccer, another topic that will shift it away from the infrastructure and the life cycle from player to leadership back to stadium power and fan experience, all the way back to, like you said, attracting the best players in the world. We're seeing a huge boom in women's sports, whether it's from a broadcast perspective, like what's going on with NCAA tournaments or hybrid sports or emerging sports. There's a lot of, we'd love to pick your brain about this too. We're seeing huge momentum in emerging areas, especially with the rise of women's soccer and the growth of youth development pathways. The USLW League has been a major part of this momentum. There's increasing demand for structured pipelines from both youth to pro. So really curious how you're thinking about these lanes of growth and what role does the USL play in shaping the future for both women and the next generation of players?
Well, as much as there's an exciting pathway to produce top players in the world on the men's side, on the women's side, we're already there. We're fortunate in the United States to have, our women's soccer athletes as the gold standard for around the world, and they've been able to achieve that with a significantly less amount of infrastructure than they deserve. And what we're going to build at the USL over the next 10 years, and the next 5 years and 10 years. So there are around 40,000, I think, women college soccer players. And up until we started the Super League this year, there were 230 professional spots available. And so when you start doing the math on that, and all those spots aren't available, because you have a lot of legacy players that will remain with their teams, and then you start to do the math again on of those open playing spots. From a positional standpoint, if you're a goalkeeper, it doesn't matter how many open striker positions there are, because you're only worried about a goalkeeper. As those 40,000 players, you're looking at maybe 5 or 10 open positions at the most. We're going to 5x that over the next 5 years, not only at the player side, but the whole ecosystem. One of the challenges in really having a sport reach its potential is that you have to have the entire ecosystem grow at the same time. So you certainly need players, you need coaches, you need referees, you need stadiums, you need training facilities, you need broadcast partners and corporate partners, and most importantly, fans. So all of that needs to rise all at once, and it needs to rise quickly. So at the USL, again, we have a very clear mission and purpose on this. We're the only league with a full pathway from academy and our reserve players up to the W League, as you mentioned, which is largely the top college players during the summer, up to our professional ranks. And so we're investing heavily in that. Our ownership teams are investing heavily in that. And critically important is our city, county, and state partners are investing in that. One of, I would say, the most exciting things for me is when we started this kind of journey building soccer stadiums back, in 2015 for me. We still had some conversations every now and then with our city county partners that said, is soccer ready to take that jump, to be investable municipally, right? And so what's happened that's really accelerated over the past, 5, 6 years, we never have that conversation anymore. Is soccer investable? When we started having conversations about the Super League in our women's professional pathway 3 or 4 years ago. I was interested to see whether that conversation would come up, right? Is women's professional soccer ready to be municipally investable? We certainly believed it did. But I was interested to hear from our city and county and state partners. And I am so glad to, report out, and we're working in 70 to 80 markets across the country. So I think we have a pretty good sample size to make this statement. We have not had one conversation that our city, county, and state partners asked us, is women's soccer ready to be municipally investable? On the contrary, a lot of times they're equally, if not more excited about the women's side than the men's side. So I think that is such a great statement for where our city county partners are. A big part of that, I think, is there's been a big shift in the city, county, state governments, where when we first started having those conversations in 15, that generation of city staff and county staff was, quote unquote, the baseball, generation. That has now shifted. I think a, a very heavy majority of our conversations, our counterparties at the city county level, played soccer. Their kids play soccer. They're very interested in soccer. And so having that kind of generational change, I think it's going to be a huge accelerant, and why we're going to be building $10 billion of stadium anchor development over the next 10 years.
Yeah, this is amazing, Justin. And you just talked about the ecosystem from broadcast partners, fans, stadiums, training facilities, referees needing to grow to be able to sustain that. And, obviously it's clear that the nationwide hype in the United States around soccer is only going to continue to go up. So I think the USL is in a fantastic spot, and soccer in the United States as a whole is as well. So with all that said, and you've obviously helped propel this growth from the lens of sports business, what advice would you have to maybe a young professional who's looking to break into an emerging league or help shape the future of the sports industry as a whole?
Yeah. So, I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of, younger folks that are looking to get in to sports. And for us, and again, I'm talking our book a little bit, but I think it's actually true, is if you're interested in sports, USL is not only the best pathway for you, uh, but we're going to have thousands of jobs. And so, one of the things that we think about a lot is making sure that we have the front office staff quality in our pipeline to sustain the growth. And so, even if you ultimately want to be in the NFL or the MLB or the NHL or the NBA, the business side of sports isn't that much different between them. And so, I would kind of equate it to, maybe if you want to go into tech, starting at Google, there's a lot of great things, and they have a lot of great people at the NBA, NFL, and the Big Five. However, those organizations are very mature, they're very large, and because of that, working your way up through all of the levels of their bureaucracy is hard, right? Just because it's like working your way up through Google. They're just very large enterprises. And so I think that if you're looking to get into this business, we're gonna have teams all across the country. If you like the Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, West Coast, there's gonna be a lot of great clubs starting up. And if you want to rise up quickly, I believe that the USL is the best pathway for it. And with our interconnectedness, then after you really learn your trade, jumping over, we hope you stay at the USL for your whole career, but if an opportunity comes up in your particular sport of choice, you'll be in a much better position to make that jump at a higher level after you've honed your craft within the USL league office or one of our clubs.
Yeah, this is great. And this actually reminds me of a point on one of our last podcasts with Ron Jaworski. He talks about a lot of people think about who's in front of the camera, but just as equally important is who's behind the camera, who's making everything work. What you said there is spot on, Justin. So, any last words you'd want to share with the audience today?
Well, just to kind of reemphasize that point, I think what's exciting about this is not only are we proved now as a soccer entity from our municipal standpoint, from a player standpoint, from a front office standpoint. I think what's exciting now is soccer and sports is an asset class for investors, and now for institutional investors. And so that is the last piece to take that quantum jump up. And institutional investors, they want to see all of that in place. And now that we've shown that, that's why you're going to see billions of dollars being invested into the USL because now we have the track record from an asset perspective to take that jump, and we are still very early on from an investor perspective in terms of reaching our mature kind of long-term run rate on revenue growth. And so putting all those pieces together, I think is why so much investment, which means there's so many playing jobs, so many coaching jobs, so many front office jobs, and we're attracting talent across the board. And that's why I think this is the most exciting time to be in soccer, because we're about 2025 for sure will be the largest growth year ever in soccer in the United States in terms of the number of teams we're going to be signing, to the number of stadium deals that we're going to be signing. And you'll see that growth start coming online over 26, 27, 28. And so, just to wrap up, I'd say it's a pleasure for myself, and I know my colleagues here, to get to play a large part in that growth. And there's nothing more rewarding than, as I was in Rhode Island this past weekend, to see the passion of the fans come. When you deliver them a great product, they will return. They will return the favor with being passionate fan bases that come out, support their club. And we call our stadiums our community living rooms, because it's really the one place that everyone in the community can come together week in and week out. And again, from just being up there in our stadium opener this weekend, it was just a magical experience that we're seeing all across the country, to see Rhode Island come out, in a sellout crowd to support their club in their stadium. And that's what we do it for. And to get to have that as a job and a career is really rewarding for me. And again, I know for all my colleagues here that really are devoting their careers to the sport and to our communities.
Yeah. Well, we talk about this all the time, Justin, that sports is an asset class and it's no longer a secret. Like people, we've been talking about it so much and we hear it all the time here in Philly from people like Wayne Kimmel, 76 Capital. So it's really exciting to see this growth, Justin. And again, very much appreciate you and the USL for, being a part of the podcast today. Thank you again. And how can the audience, stay in touch or follow along with the USL?
Yeah, so we're across, of course, all across all of our social channels. But reach out to my team, whether it's a broadcast team, expansion team, real estate team, our investor team, depending on what the area of interest in, and we'd love to have the conversation for anyone who's looking to help grow the sport of soccer.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you again, Justin. Best of luck as the season starts off, and thank you again.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks, Justin.